I also agree with Honorable Junet that we give them a second chance, because sometimes you'll have a member who will be here, not do very well as an MP, but when become a senator or a governor, they do exemplary job. And because they had not been dismissed on grounds of being ineffective or having done any issue that was against the Constitution, that we give them the chance and allow the appointing authority to do as he wishes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I sat in this vetting process, and it has come at the right time when we are reviewing our foreign policy as a country to be able to align to the shifting global dynamics, Mr. Speaker, and to be able to align to our national interests, Mr. Speaker. And that is why these appointments are very, very crucial. Mr. Speaker, the issue of Dr. Karanja, a very, very well-published and renowned academic, Mr. Speaker, has a very wide experience, Mr. Speaker, and it has also come at the right time when we are expecting to hold the Conference of Parties, or what you call COP30, in Belém, Brazil, this year in November, Mr. Speaker. So we are hoping that he will be able to help us also navigate as we send our team to be able to negotiate and make progress for our country. Mr. Speaker, the other thing we were able to raise to Dr. Karanja is specifically of the missions or ambassadorial missions becoming the first stop of our Kenyans who are outside the country, especially students, when they are stranded, when we have issues in other countries. These ambassadors must be reachable, must be accessible, and must be responsive to our citizens outside the country, Mr. Speaker. These ambassadors, permanent rep, and consul generals, Mr. Speaker, are the image that we are projecting of the country and of the president in the outside world. Mr. Speaker, I also agree with the previous speakers in terms of at the time when we get a person declining an appointment, Mr. Speaker, it definitely sends a very bad picture to have Accra becoming rejected twice, Mr. Speaker. So it is important that, as has been said by the mover, that the head of public service does proper consultation with the appointing authority to ensure that if someone is not ready to take up an appointment, you reject it at the right time. Let it not go to the Gazette notice, because when it goes to the Gazette notice, even if you write to the clerk, it will already have gone out, Mr. Speaker. So the timing is very critical that we have it checked. Mr. Speaker, the issue of linking the country with our country is very important. It has become a global village. We hope that these three appointees will do a good job. I want to also pick up on Honorable Ababu Namwamba, a person who has served in this house for 10 years, has been a cast, Mr. Speaker, and we were able to interrogate in terms of his knowledge, in terms of representing us in the UNEP and UNON. And one issue, Mr. Speaker, that I personally feel about UNEP and UNON is that despite being hosted in this country, if you go to Switzerland, if you go to New York, you will see the linkage between the national and domestic interests with the offices of the UN that are located in those areas, Mr. Speaker. I feel like Gigiri in UNEP and UNON, they feel detached from what we are doing as a country. So I would hope, as he promised, that he will be able to act as a bridge between getting the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, the national interest of this country linked into these offices, Mr. Speaker. Let Kenyans also feel them as part of the global world. Mr. Speaker, the issue of Haiti is very critical. The person who has been nominated there, who is Gabo, Mr. Speaker, has been in the police for over 30 years, ended up as the DIG, has been in the policy implementation at that level, Mr. Speaker. And the one question we hope and we actually put up to him is that as we already sent our first contingent of police officers to help restore peace in Haiti, we will be looking that he'll be the go-between for those officers, because first of all, for obvious reasons, the officers are not unionized, Mr. Speaker. It would be very unfair or unfortunate for our issues, especially of welfare of those officers, to go to the media. We see them on BBC, we see them in other areas, complaining that their welfare is not being taken care of, Mr. Speaker. So we'll be hoping that when Gabo reports, if appointed and if passed in this house, Mr. Speaker, he will be able to do a good job to ensure that he's the go-between between these officers and of course other Kenyans, Mr. Speaker, who are in that area, who would actually be threatened by any issue or who would be having an issue of welfare. They would wish to communicate so that they are able to sort it out in-house before it gets out, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, that being said, I hope that we can also as a country be able to develop a foreign policy as it is being done now but through the ministry that is based on fundamental principles of peaceful coexistence so that we can be able to preserve our national security and also have peaceful coexistence in the global world and where we sit. With that, Mr. Speaker, I support. Thank you.
Ole Sunguli.
Mr. Speaker, I will stand to support these appointments